Hello, beautiful people. Listen, Daruma, welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be checking this video and it's titled Warm Applause. Prince Catherine welcomed at Wimbledon. Interesting. We're going to be checking this video to hear what they got to say. Let's check it out.
Joining me now is Sky News contributor Louise Roberts and 𝑗𝑜𝑖𝑛 from GT Communications. Louise, the opening of Parliament is always a pretty grand occasion. Can you run us through the detail? And was there anything that made this particular event notable?
Well, I think what made it most notable was the fact that it was the state opening of Parliament on the same day as Camilla's 77th birthday. So there was a double celebration as such. And look, it is an opportunity for the new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, to sort of show off his new cabinet. But really the day is about the King and Queen. And also part of the spectacle is the jewellery that's on show. Those crowns are just amazing, aren't they? So the King was wearing, of course, the state imperial crown, which his mother wore on several occasions. It has over 3,000 stones on it, and I believe someone tried to get an estimate of the worth of this crown. I think it's something like 9 billion Australian dollars. It's just mind-boggling, the history behind that. And I also think that there was a lot of focus on Camilla, who of course was serene and elegant as always, and she was wearing a particular crown which will be very familiar to us as Australians, because it's that beautiful diamond crown which of course the Queen Elizabeth wore in her depiction on our banknotes and on our stamps as well. So it's a beautiful piece of jewellery too. I think it's actually the most popular or most well-known piece of jewellery, this crown that Camilla wore. And I think that you know, Charles and Camilla sort of executed the state opening of Parliament with their usual grace and humour. And it was, as you say, it was wonderful to see Charles in action at such a stupendous occasion.
Beautiful.
Now, Gemma, there's a Republican movement both here and in the UK, but the current system seems to work just fine. Do we take it a bit for granted?
I think we do. I think but that's one of its strengths, if that makes sense. Like one of those things that's don't try to fix something that's not broken. We have incredible stability. We have, as you mentioned earlier, this just seamless transfer of power when governments change. And this is the bedrock on which our constitutional monarchy system here is made, obviously. And we have this just security, I suppose you'd call it. And from my perspective, at least, you know, the constitution, the anti-constitutional mob here, or the anti-monarchist mob here, the Republican movement in Australia has always been somewhat, for the most part, an elitist issue for people pushing their own barrows. They're not particularly interested in the long-term stability of the country. For them, it's an ideological bent.
Well, let's even talk about the crown. Yo, that's beautiful, and I can imagine how heavy it would be, but beautiful, iconic to see, and to preserve history. And this is one thing I love about Britain, is the fact that they preserve history, and keeping it going, even with the royal family, is something beautiful, something noble, and something to be cherished. That's why I keep saying that for people who think that, no, they don't want the monarchy to continue, they want elected people in. Listen, except you don't love history, you will not want it to be preserved. And regardless, this is something that sets Britain apart from the fact that there are other royal families across the world, but at the same time, this is something that sets Britain apart. And it's beautiful, it's different. But let me know what you think. But let's go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one Labor MP was forced to redo his oath of allegiance because he left out the reference to the King's heirs and successors. So first he said this:
I take this oath under protest and in the hope that one day my fellow citizens will democratically decide to live in a republic. Until that time, I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles according to law.
Wow.
And then he was forced to say this:
I was elected to Parliament to represent my constituents and our country to the best of my ability, to defend democracy and uphold human rights. And one day, I hope all members of Parliament will be entitled to swear an oath of allegiance based on those values. I do solemnly and sincerely and truly declare and affirm that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors, according to law.
Gemma, it's part of the job, the irony and the entitlement.
Well, I mean, it's. I reckon he'd probably be one of the most unpopular people in the UK, because even though the Tories got unceremoniously flogged in that election, the royal family is incredibly popular. Not just Charles and Camilla, but William, Kate, Prince Louis is more popular than that turkey. I guarantee it, any day of the week and 3 times on Sundays. I mean, this is what I'm talking about with an ideological bent. You know, Keir Starmer, I don't know whether he's a Republican by nature, but he's not adverse to taking the knighthood. You know, he's not adverse to being Sir Keir and Lady Victoria Starmer. I mean, this is the worst of the sort of ideological mob who come into Parliament and say everybody must bow before the particular thing that is my barrow to push.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, also this week, the King met with world leaders at the Blenheim Summit, organised by Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Now, Louise, what was the purpose of the summit and how else did the King contribute?
The purpose of the summit is to really ingratiate the British PM with his European counterparts. It was held at Blenheim Palace, as you say, which itself is a fantastic venue to host this sort of event. Given their history, it was where Sir Winston Churchill, in fact, was born. So it's rich with a great narrative of democracy and sort of great decision-making over the years. And the fact that Zelensky was there, the Ukrainian leader, and obviously Charles met with him and had a private meeting with him as well, and you could see the warmth between them. There was some laughter, and Zelensky sort of patted Charles on the arm. You can see that that's done amazing work, even more than more recent events, I guess, to really confirm the UK's power and support for the Ukraine. So to see, you know, Charles in that arena with all these European leaders, he really, I mean, they're so thrilled to see him. He seems very easily laughing and chatting with the Greek leaders and the Prime Minister of anyone, any president or any Prime Minister who comes into his orbit is delighted to be with him. So I think Sir Keir Starmer, as we've discussed, would be thrilled to bits to have him there.
Beautiful. See the way the Labour MP was told to repeat the oath of allegiance. See, regardless of how it is, and I'm glad somebody also pointed it out, the royal family is very popular, regardless. So, I mean, respect, it is not that hard to respect them. And it's a good thing. And this right here, with the MP oath of allegiance or them seated together in the parliament, is something beautiful to see that sets Britain apart. Maybe because I grew up learning a lot about this, or maybe I'm seeing it from a different perspective, because lots of people would not even understand this, and lots of people will not even see this in the way I do see it. But I always find that really iconic, beautiful, and something different, because we don't get to see this. But when I see this presented, it is noble. And for me, regardless of how anybody want to feel, the monarchy would still remain and still stay standing strong. Because it is something noble that sets Britain apart. And we love to see it. And it's just beautiful to see. It's just going to remain. But let me know what you think about the Labour MP repeating his oath of allegiance on here. What do you think about it so far? I'm sure tons of people have their thoughts or have different thoughts regarding it. But let's go on.
Have him there.
Now, still with you, Louise, and last week the King and Queen confirmed their tour to Australia in October. Is it as we expected?
I think to an extent we were expecting a scaled down tour. I mean, the mere fact that Charles is coming out here with Camilla in a year where he's battling cancer is just outstanding, really. I don't think anyone would mind if he said, look, I might come out in a couple of years or in 5 years, but the fact that he's determined to make this his 17th visit to Australia and get around and see as many people as possible is just fantastic. What we do know is that the tour in Australia will largely centre on New South Wales and the ACT, probably a visit to both Parliament houses in those areas as well. No doubt there'll be plenty of people who will be disappointed they don't get to see him. New Zealand's off the menu, they're not going there, but they are going to Samoa. So whether we'll see him back on Bondi Beach, I don't know. Let's see. We might see him down at Manly as well.
Gemma, now the King and Queen, they're not visiting WA, and then Fergie was meant to come to the WA Writers' Festival being hosted at the same time, and now she's not coming so as not to distract from the royal visit. Bit of a shame for the West Aussies. Coldplay came.
Listen, not everyone likes to come to the Hermit Kingdom, Caro. You know how it goes. I think it's just practical realities. Like it's so isolated, it's so far, and as we know, the King is not well. He is battling cancer. He's not a spring chicken anymore. I think he's doing a great job to come. That flight from London is a punish. I don't care whether you've got your own private jet. It's a darn long way. So
yes.
I think West Australians, we did get Coldplay, but we didn't get Taylor Swift. So these things happen.
You win some, you lose some, I suppose. Now, Louise, speaking of winning some, we did get to see Princess Catherine at Wimbledon. She received a standing ovation. Here it is.
And here we are, the appearance of Her Royal Highness.
Beautiful. How can you not love this? Oh my God. Yo. So beautiful.
Such a warm applause.
Exactly.
Now, Louise, we understand that's her last appearance before the Royals return from their summer break. Do we know what's next?
Well, what we do know is that you're right, that is her last public engagement before they take a break at their Norfolk home. They have a Norfolk estate where they often do spend summer with their children, and other family members come up to visit them as well. So she does need a break to sort of recuperate and rest, and obviously keep her preventative chemotherapy treatment up as well. But looking at that footage, it's just marvellous, isn't it? The way she sort of came into the arena and walked down to her seat, and the way Princess Charlotte looks up at her mother with this pure admiration and love, and thinking, Mummy, you're just so brave what you've gone through, and the fact you've come here today. And she's so humble about it as well. There's no flicking of the hair or flourish or look at me. It's very much I'm so happy to be here and thank you for making me feel welcome. It was just marvellous to see.
It really was, and it was just so warm. The crowd was just so warm. Now, Gemma, Princess Catherine has also released a statement this week about her treatment. She was quite personal and quite open. What did she have to say?
Well, she was obviously talking about the personal impact that it's had on her and the family, and how much she really is connected to the community who feel like they've been on this journey with her. And the thing that I think, coming back to the first story about the swearing in of the members of Parliament, this is the reason why, the monarchy, I think, is in safe hands. This is the reason why the monarchy is in safe hands, because you've got Princess Kate, and if you remember when she first started, I can't remember whether she was dating Prince William or they were first married, but, everyone was clutching their pearls when she wore the same dress twice, or when she opened a door herself. Like, that's not affectation. That's just clearly who she is, and the way she's handled this cancer announcement, and the way that she's been so transparent, so more private than someone like me, who is clearly not the future Queen of England, would be. It just shows that I think she has an incredible relationship with the people of the UK and the rest of us more broadly.
Exactly. Simple.
Absolutely. And Louise, there's talk of a paperback version of Spare. It's been 18 months since the original. We understand Harry's looking for content. I've only got about 30 seconds, but can you tell us what's going on?
Yes, so hardback books are the most profitable for publishers. So if there's a bestseller, there's a good chance they may actually make it into a paperback as well. The suggestion that Harry's out there mining for more content, I don't think that behaviour's ever stopped. I think him and Meghan have always been looking for new content, but of course the critical stuff, the health of Charles and the health of Kate, they're nowhere near it. They have no information. So I can't see any updated book containing anything of new value in a way.
Louise Roberts, Gemma Tognini, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely true. But let's even talk about Princess Catherine. You see the warm welcome and beautiful ambience it was. The fact that she connects with regular people, and people sort of feel her presence so warming and are delighted to see her, is beautiful. How can you just not love her? I mean, like, people just be like, oh, she makes it look she's so regular like us. It's interesting. But again, Harry, Of course, they may not have new information to share, so there might not be a paperback for spare. Or what do you think? Even if it was a bestseller and stuff, but the fact that, okay, you are doing this to your family and you're taking pride with it, how would you feel? Even though you don't have conscience, or even though you don't have human decency, but how would you feel if somebody does the exact same thing to you, to write about? Because let's just look at it in all fairness. But again, this is beautiful to see, because people are not wrong for sort of connecting or loving Princess Catherine the way they do, because every sane, regular person, when they look at her and look at themselves, they'll be like, okay, they have that sense of relatability with her. And it's beautiful. It's something different that we don't actually get to see. And it's the other side that people don't get to see from the royal family, which is beautiful. But let me know what you think. I'm sure tons of people have interesting things to share. I really love to share that. Can share the useful information I think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.